We are outside the National Theatre. This is Laurence Olivier, who was a major student at Central, to the extent that he's got his name on the steps. He's got his name on the steps. He's got a statue. He also has a swing on the roof that we discovered. That was the Laurence Olivier swing that he did when he was a performance artist. Don't look it up. It's fact. If we say it's true, it ultimately becomes fact. Okay, so we're going to be talking about inspirations.
I feel we should talk about the glossary term 6, which is ZENZUCHT.
ZENZUCHT. Okay, ZENZUCHT is a German word. It's a lacuna, which lacuna is one of my favourite words. It means absence or void, or in this example, a word that has no direct translation. No direct translation. In this case, ZENZUCHT, German, it means the feeling that your happiness lies just over the next hill. So this became quite important in the show. It's quite important with me because I constantly chase my happiness as I gently weep out of my right eye. I seem to be crying.
The wind has been blowing in Tom's eye, causing some weeping.
Yes.
I should also probably quickly explain. The reason I have dark glasses on is because the light actually damages my eyes. It is not because I'm hungover.
As the neo-futurists taught us, too much light makes the baby go blind.
Yeah.
Again, another one of our influences.
Yes. My eyesight not functioning.
The condition of his eyes worries me, truly it does. It shows to me he's been using his excellent telescope a little too zealously. Now that's a quote from Bertolt Brecht.
Yeah.
Brecht!
One of our influences. One of the many reasons for this is I have two favourite practitioners, Brecht and Arthur. Brecht, I really enjoyed the way that he sort of characterises and employs Jungian archetypes, which are a major feature of what we were doing as part of our theatre. To construct stories, we used a lot of Jung's archetypes. Brecht uses similar things. And Arthur, the theatre of cruelty, the idea of exposing the artist, is always been a huge player in the stuff that I work on.
And again, sort of Brecht claimed the best piece of theatre would be a man informing another man of a car crash that he's seen. So the idea of...
Whereas we just had a car crash on stage, so it was quite pleasant.
So what we're doing is we weren't showing the major dramatic conceit of the work. We were talking about it and letting the audience experience it. Brecht would also argue that he wanted his theatre to be like a boxing ring. He wanted people to be able to smoke, to drink, to talk. He also, which is the one where they send the boy up the mountain?
The one with two endings.
Yes, same thing, where the audience would vote. There's a party who are going up a mountain and
with their teacher.
And what happens is the boy falls sick. And they're like, do we leave the boy... No, that's it, they don't leave the boy. Do we push the boy off the mountain? Or do we spend the time...
Or do we spend the time taking him back down? And they can't not climb the mountain because the gods get angry.
Yes. So that was the thing. Also, sort of the two ideas of alternate endings decided by the audience. Again, these sort
major players.
Yes.
So on that end, we also had a slight Matter of Life and Death point flip.
Yes.
Which was also playing into Rodenstein's and Guildford's Stoppard.
Yeah.
Huge influence.
Yes. To the extent that in the earlier iteration of the show, we discussed Timon and Pumbaa film and say that Hamlet is the Lion King. This is common. It's a fact. It's a fact. And the Timon and Pumbaa film was the Rosecrans Guild and Seven Are Dead. To which point I replied, "Who?" Sort of for us, Stoppard did not exist. But he very much does in our world. And again, that idea also, like the Inspector Hound, a play about a play that was constant for us.
Another aspect was this idea of wandering theatre.
Yes.
We'd drawn various different styles. So we had the mummers, we had the vagabonds, the Jarib, which was a huge aspect.
The situationists.
That's
again, sort of bring that in.
That really informed the idea of the site independence.
Yes.
The idea that theatre should be able to happen anywhere, regardless of the confines of society.
Yes. Right at the beginning of the year, I did a very short piece where I tried to form the neo-situationists. You became a member.
I did.
We went to Christmas Park. Annie, I think Annie was also. I think who was it? Was it Jess?
It was Jess, Annie, myself, you. I think
Rob.
Rob was
So
there as well.
currently the neo-situationists have met once and have gone to one place, but this constant need to, as I said, I'm working on a show based on the idea of beauty in the streets. So all these ideas coming in together, that travelling, being able to find the beauty that is Olivier here.
Whereas for myself, it was actually part of my research, my original research thing, which I really enjoyed and felt that I needed to have it inform something that we were doing.
I don't research, I live. No,
Tom does praxis.
every time.
Praxis! Annie is now taking a drink.
Okay, who else was influences?
I think we should probably talk about our writing style.
Absolutely.
And so we are both huge fans of the late great Sir Terry Pratchett.
Yep.
He has a dedication in our flyer, the programme. If you look in the guidebook, it's in there.
A section in the show where we look at it and say, we know a knight.
We do, we do know a night. And Terry Pratchett, the idea of that comedy and looking at these tropes and really enjoying playing around with them is great.
Hello to dogs.
We now have some animal companies who are apparently afraid of this. This is another element of us. We aren't quite easily distracted on stage, which led to quite a lot of fun when it came to writing. Anyway,
Yes. I would not argue that I am easily distracted. I'd say
despite all evidence, the
no,
contrary.
I would say I am open at all times. So I am picking up on everything, able to pick up and go, right, I'm going to work with that and then come back to it.
Semantics.
I live. So yes, Terry Pratchett, also the idea of just, also there's that sort of idea that just because it's sort of, you may think it goes above your head, you know, sort of, a lot of people are going to tell you, you won't understand this, you don't need to. But
This was something we rebelled against and despise, I think.
what was the quote you used in your essay?
That particular quote. A quote from Terry, from Weird Sisters. You can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. A very, very important aspect.
Which, again, if we're talking about influences, was sort of,
Yeah.
I think this is the interest drink, that when we're talking about our influences, a lot of it is what has come before. That I'm just very quickly going to say again. I do interaction, relational, Butler's, Total Theatre nominated, which you just keep mentioning because some people think he's smart.
That was a runner.
Belt Up was a massive influence for me.
Talk about Mike Alfred for a bit?
If you're going to stop me from talking about Belt Up, sure.
Okay, sorry. Talk about Belt Up.
Yeah, no. Belt Up did show Lorca is Dead, which I think was one of the best examples I've seen of audience participation, where, again, they're the surrealists, so a lot of it is just embracing the weirdness. Arto was there. Arto had a northern accent for no discernible reason.
Cruelty.
They used a lot of signifiers, which he did as well. We both wore coats, and there's a section where I take off the coat I've been wearing and put on the coat of my lost love, which I either, depending on the ending, I either leave wearing her long coat, or Lawrence makes me change back into what I was wearing before. You know, a very simple signifier of what we were doing. Mike Alfred's, again, sort of always been part of my working ethic, different every night, keeping it going, keeping it fresh. I think, again, Keith Johnston, this improvising, but also finding a way of doing that kindly, you know, to be able to surprise your co-worker, but and not knock them off. I'll let you say.
And we're also, so part of that is also drawing in aspects of that, not surprising ourselves, not working outside of this circle of expectation. Which was, so I recently started reading Keith Johnston properly.
I was going to say, you've read the book, so
I've read the book. Thank you, Aisha. Yes, so Tom, unbeknownst to me, was actually working off Keith Johnston a little bit longer beforehand, but he was teaching me this idea of the circle of expectation throughout the process, throughout the practice. So in a way, we're both also influencing one another as we create.
Completely, yeah.
So our own working styles, our own adoption of techniques that the other one uses, very important. Gesture, a prime example.
Justice, if we go back to
Or
Brecht.
justice, if we're going back to Brecht. The idea of narrative and working through stories. I think now's probably a good time to talk about Joseph Campbell, who was a massive influence on us. Definitely on me.
I'd say right at the beginning, yes. Sorry, I'm just. What we did is we actually planned a Campbellian hero's journey for the show to hit those major points. And I don't, even though we kind of strayed away, I think we
kept up a basic, similar narrative structure running through the later show. The first show was very strictly adhering to that structure.
Even to the extent that the acknowledgement that I think we both went into it thinking that we were the heroes, and which you can argue everyone's a hero of their own story. But it turned out actually the stories ended up being more about me, and Lawrence became an antagonist, but not a. Well, actually, in the earlier versions, not a villain. Although I'd argue you became a villain in the version we did finally.
I'd argue there was a level of it. So,
I think there was. If we had more time, this is something we're particularly interested in exploring. Also, the fact that because we did the two endings, we did the show 3 times. Every time they wanted me to leave.
And go and find his
love. It would have been very interesting if we could have somehow found what it would have been that would have made people go, actually,
this is a bad idea.
Yeah. So
yes, influences. Campbell, huge for us, creating that narrative structure within the stories and over the course of the show as well. So I think that's us covered for influences.
Yes, apart from our major influences being ourselves.
Indeed. Onwards. Oh, orders. Ciao.
Ophelia says that her major influence was Lonely George, who was one of the world's oldest tortoises, so she uses him a lot in her work.